Hello everyone. So in the previous lecture we had started with the horizontal curve, and there we had studied that the vehicle that is entering a horizontal curve impact is faced with the centrifugal force, and this centrifugal force tries to overturn the vehicle and cause lateral skidding, and this is avoided by providing the super elevation along the road. And we derived the mathematical formula for the super elevation and studied the designing step for the super elevation and how the attainment of super elevation on the road is done. Then we did couple of numericals. So continuing from that, today we are going to study about the extra widening of the road, and this is another uh, parameter of horizontal curve. So let us assume that we have a straight road of width W. So the vehicle that is moving in this straight road will move in a very comfortable way. But if the road is curved and the vehicle if tries to enter the road, now you see what happens is that the front wheel of the vehicle or the front axle of the vehicle is movable, right? And the rear part of the vehicle, that is the rear axle of the vehicle, follows the front axle. So as the vehicle try to negotiate this curve, as the vehicle enters the horizontal curve, the rear part of the vehicle, being rigid, gets off track from the front part of the vehicle. The rear axle of the vehicle deviates from the front part of the vehicle, and this causes a bit of problem. And this behavior becomes much more evident when the vehicle is entering a sharp horizontal curve, and we can see that the front part of the vehicle will take a very sharper turn while the rear part will off track from that of front part of the vehicle, right? So you can see the front part of the vehicle took a very sharp turn while the rear part deviated from the that of the front wheelbase. So this is called as off tracking of the vehicle. And in horizontal curve it is very important to take into account this off tracking behavior of the vehicle, because first of all, a substantial part of the vehicle is off the track. The second thing is that extra also provides a psychological benefit for the driver. So if a driver wants to overtake a vehicle along the curve, so now an extra width is available for the vehicle to maneuver its vehicle and maintain a safe distance before the overtaking. Apart from that, the vehicle that is coming from the opposite direction, saved a much more safe distance is available for both the vehicle to see each other while negotiating the curve. So the objective of providing extra widening is to avoid off tracking due to rigidity of the wheelbase, or to be precise, rigidity of rear wheelbase. Then it helps counter the transfer skidding. It increases the visibility along the curve, and it counters the psychological tendency of the driver to maintain space with the overtaken vehicle while overtaking. So your extra widening is basically have a two main parameters. The first is mechanical widening, that is encounter the rigidity of the wheelbase, and the second is psychological widening, right? So your extra widening is equal to mechanical widening plus psychological widening, and your mechanical widening is given by NL square by 2R, and your psychological widening is given by V by 9.5 under root of R. So this parameter is your mechanical widening, this parameter is your psychological widening. N is your number of lanes, L is the length of the wheelbase, and as per IRC we have standard wheelbase of 6.1 meter. Then we have R, radius of the curve, and velocity in kilometer per hour. Then as there are certain IRC recommendations that the extra width of the pavement at the horizontal curve for the radius of the curve up to 20 meter, extra width of 0.9 meter is provided for a single lane road, and for a two lane road an extra width of 1.5 meter is provided for radius of the curve is up to 20 meters. Likewise we have other values also, and as per IRC recommendation, if the radius of the curve is above 300 meter, then there is no need for providing the extra width, right? Now it's up to the designer if we want to have a over safe design of alignment of the horizontal curve, then it's up to its own conscious decision. But as per IRC there is no need for providing extra width when the radius of the curve is more than 300 meters. Then we have transition curve. Now you see, along if this is your horizontal curve, then we can see that this is your straight road and this is your circular road, and in between we have a curved road. So this is called as transition curve. So basically your straight road is now being transiting into circular road curve. So your transition curve basically act as a transition between your straight road to the circular road. So if this transition curve would not have been there, so your road would have been something like this. So a sharp curve would have been there, and this point would have been a accidental hotspot, right? Because the vehicle that is coming at a higher speed or even at a design speed, it has to negotiate in a very short distance, it has to negotiate along the curve, right? So the vehicle that are coming at a very high speed, a very small in a very small time, they will have to apply a instant brake, and because of which skidding of the vehicle and accident might have taken place, right? So your transition curve basically helps to avoid this. It helps to transit your straight road into circular or circular to straight. Now this is done by basically shifting the center line of the road in the outward direction, and this is how the transition is done from a straight road to the circular road. So the transition curve is provided between straight and circular road so that the radius changes from infinity to r in a very gradual manner. So your straight road is can be said as a circle of infinite radius, right? So changing from infinity to r in a very gradual manner. The objective for providing transition curve is to introduce centrifugal force gradually between straight and circular curve, to avoid jerk and provide comfort condition for the driver, to introduce super elevation and extra widening gradually, to enable driver turning the steering gradually from comfort, and to provide a comfort to the driver that is turning through this horizontal curve in a very gradual way, and to improve the aesthetic appearance, right? So these are the some of the points or the positive impact of the transition curve. Now basically we have three type of transition curve. We have spiral, we have lemniscate, we have cubical, but as per IRC we are set to use spiral transition curve, and the reason for this is that the rate of change of centrifugal acceleration is constant along the spiral curve. The formula for the spiral transition curve is L equal to m under root theta, where m is constant given by under root 2 r ls. L is the length of the curve, and theta is the tangent deflection angle in radius. So this is very important in terms of your objective competitive exam, right? Because many times it is asked that what kind of curve is used in the transition curve. So we use spiral curve for transition curve. Sometimes this formula is this formula and the other variety of formulas comes in the objective, so as to ask the formula for the spiral curve. So these two are very important in terms of your objective questions for competitive exam. Then we have a calculation of length of transition curve. We have three methods for calculation of length for transition curve. The first is based upon the rate of change of centrifugal acceleration. The second is based upon the rate of change of super elevation. The third is based upon the empirical formula. So based upon the rate of change of centrifugal acceleration, we have formula L equal to V cube divided by C into R, where V is the velocity in meter per second, C is the allowable rate of change of centrifugal acceleration, R is the radius of the curve. And if the velocity is given in kilometer per hour, then the value becomes 0.0215 V cube divided by CR. C, the formula for the allowable rate of change of centrifugal acceleration is 80 divided by 75 plus V. The permissible limit as per IRC for this is between 0.5 to 0.8. Then for the rate of change of super elevation, as we had seen while studying the attainment of super elevation, we have two ways by which we can achieve super elevation. The first is when pavement is rotated about the inner edge, right? When the pavement is rotated about the inner edge, right? So while deriving the eleva super elevation, we had seen that theta is very small, and in that case, when theta is small, your sine theta becomes equal to tan theta, right? So your E can be said, the super elevation can be said equal to E by B. E is the rate by which the outer edge is elevated. So this is E by width of the road. So your rate at which the outer edge is elevated with respect to the inner edge is equals to B into E. B is the width of the road. So if a part of the road is widened by a factor, extra width is provided, the extra width is WE, and W is the actual width of the road, then the width of the road becomes W plus WE. So the length of the transition curve in such scenario becomes E into N into W plus WE, and your N is the rate of change of super elevation. In case the rotation of the road is done across the center line, that is, in that scenario, what happens is the outer edge is rotated by factor E by 2, E by inner edge and outer edge, and the length of the transition curve becomes L equal to E into N W plus WE by 2. Now while we are at it, let us discuss the positive and negative of rotating the road along the inner edge or along the center line. So if you are rotating your road along the inner edge, then first of all there won't be no drainage problem. The positive thing about rotating along the inner edge is that there won't be any drainage problem. However, the extra material is required for rotating the road along the inner edge. So we have a road, when we rotate the road along the inner edge, what happens is an extra filling material is required to reach the desired elevation. While if we rotate the road along the center line, so if you have a road and we want to rotate the road along the center line, so here the road material will be excavated, and this excavated material can be used to fill this part of the road. So filling of the extra requirement of the material is not is either negligible or there is no requirement of the material. And the disadvantage is that there is a drainage problem occur in while we are constructing or moving the road along the center line. After that we have empirical formula, and as per the IRC standard we have two empirical formula. One is for plain and rolling terrain and one is for mountain and steep terrain. So these are the minimum values that should be there for the length of the transition curve. So for plain and rolling terrain we have length of the transition curve equal to 2.7 v square by r. For mountainous and steep terrain we have v square by r. Now the length of the transition curve is we have to see through all the three methods, and the highest value has to be adopted. So we have to find out first of all length of the curve from all the three methods, and then we will choose the highest value. Then after that we have curve resistance, and you see when the vehicle is negotiating a horizontal curve, its tractive force is compromised, and this loss of tractive force, the pavement, is termed as curve resistance, and it is given as T minus T cos alpha, where T is the tractive force and T minus T cos alpha is the direction which your vehicle is negotiating the curve. Then we have effect of gradient on the horizontal curve. So before studying this, let us discuss about the gradient itself. So your gradient is nothing but the slope along the road. So we have four type of gradients. The first is rolling gradient. Gradient is the design gradient. This is the slope that is provided in the normal conditions in the design speed. Then we have limiting gradient. It is the maximum gradient provided along this steeper terrain, right? After that, we have exceptional gradient that is provided in very special situations, and then we have a minimum gradient that has to be provided even in the flat road, and this minimum gradient serve as a purpose for drainage provision. And so you must have seen that while going along the road we have manholes, and in this manhole whenever there is a spillage or a rainwater, the rainwater goes to this manhole and to the sewer system. So this is done by a certain slope is provided along the length of the road, and as the rain comes, the rainwater goes through the manhole to the sewer system. And then we have a grade compensation, and your grade compensation is done when we have a horizontal curve. And if we have a gradient more than 4%, then only grade compensation is done, and grade compensation is equal to 30 plus r by r or 75 by r. So this is as per IRC recommendation that whenever we have a horizontal curve, there will be increased resistance to the tractive force due to the curve and gradient. So it is necessary to compensate the gradient. Okay, so you have a grade compensation equal to 30 plus r by r or 75 by r. So minimum value of these two has to be adopted, and the compensated gradient will be the original gradient minus the value that we obtained from the minimum value. So this is how the grade is compromised. Now let us do a numerical. So the question is that we have to calculate the length of the transition curve for design speed of 65 km per hour. The radius of the circular curve is 220 meters. The allowable rate of introduction of super elevation for the pavement that is rotated along the central line is 1 in 150, and the pavement include extra widening of 7.5 meters. So we have to calculate the length of the transition curve. Alright, let's attempt the question. So first of all, let us write the given parameter. So we have been given the design speed v is equals to 65 km per hour, the radius of circular curve to be 220 meter, and the rate of super elevation is equals to 1 in 150, and the extra width WE is 7.5 meter. We have to find the length of the transition curve. Okay, so we have just now seen that the length of the transition curve can be found using there are three methods, and we have to basically see in all the three methods and have to choose the highest value. All right, so let us attempt the question by first of all finding the length of the transition curve through the first method. So the first method is length of the transition curve based upon centrifugal rate of change of centrifugal acceleration. Okay, so the question says that so the formula for that is length of the curve is equals to v cube divided by cr, and if the velocity is given in kilometer per hour, then this formula becomes 0.0 0.0215 into V cube divided by CR, where C is 80 divided by 75 plus V, that is 80 divided by 75, V is 65. So this comes out to be 0.57 meter per second cube. Okay, and the permissible value for C is in between 0.5 to 0.8. So this is okay, right? We can adopt this value. So putting this value in this formula, we have length of the curve is equal to 0.0215 into V cube, that is 65 cube, divided by C is 0.57 into radius is 220 meter. So this comes out to be 47.1 meter. So we have, this is the first thing. Now let us find out the length of the transition curve based upon super elevation E. Now in the question it is given the pavement is rotated about the central line. The pavement is rotated about the central line. So the rate of increase is E by 2. So in this case the formula is E into N, W plus WE by 2. This is the formula. So length of the curve is E into N, W plus WE divided by 2. We have N is equal to 150, W plus WE, the overall pavement width including extra widening is given as 7.5 meter. We don't have value of super elevation. So first of all we need to find the value of super elevation. So how do we find the value of super elevation? We have done in the past. The value of E is given as V square divided by 225 into R. Try and do the question by yourself, then see the solution, right? That will be much beneficial. Then we have R is 220. So this value comes out to be 0.085. Now what we have to do? We have to check the value, right? And since the value is greater than the permissible super elevation value, so what we have to do is we have to say since obtained super elevation value is greater than E max, therefore adopting E max. So after this, what is the next step? Next step is check F, that is friction, coefficient of lateral friction, that is V F equal to V square divided by 2 127 R minus E is equals to 65 square 127 into 220 minus 0.07. So this will become equal to 0.08. So this is equal to 0.08. So what is the next step? The next step is we have to check if the value is greater or less than the maximum permissible value. The maximum permissible value is 0.15 and the value is less than the maximum permissible value, and so this is okay. So we can adopt the 0.07 value. I'm not writing the statement, but in exam you have to write down the complete statement that since the value is less than the permissible value, then the maximum Emax can be adopted and can be used, right? This is the complete statement that you have to write. Okay, so moving on to the question, we have to find out the length of the curve. So length of the curve is equals to, we have E value 0.07, N is 150, and in the question it says that the pavement width including extra widening. So we have 7.5 divided by 2. So this value comes out to be 39.375 meters. Okay, so this is your second value. Now what is the next thing that we have to do? The next thing is to check using empirical formula. So here, since it is not given that we have a hilly terrain, it is not given that we have a mountain or steep terrain. So in that case, if it is not mentioned, we will assume that the terrain is plane. So for that, the formula for the length of the curve is 2.7 v square by r. Okay, so the minimum value as per IRC using empirical formula is 2.7 v square by r, that is equals to 2.7 into 65 square divided by 220. So this will come out to be 51.852, that can be said as 51.9 meter. Now we have to, so we have three values, right? So we have 47.1, we have 39.375, and we have 51.9. And we have to what we have to do is we have to adopt highest value, and the highest value is 51.9 meter. So we will adopt 51.9, let's say 52 meters as design length of transition curve. Okay, so this is your complete question. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. This was all for this topic. I hope the lecture was up to your expectation, and if so, make sure you like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. We have a lot more lectures related to this subject, and make sure you hit the bell icon so as to get the regular notification. Tell your views about this lecture, and if you have any doubts in the comment section. Thank you.